Dear friends in Christ Jesus, a wonderful gospel reading, and which you are very familiar with this text because we have heard it several times and we have heard a lot of interpretations for this particular passage. And feeding of 5,000 is a very, very important passage which speaks a lot about sharing compassion of Jesus Christ and how people, ordinary folks, were so fascinated by the teachings of Christ. We have heard lots and lots of lessons. But today, I think we need to take this whole reflection in another direction, because we see the first reading from the prophet Isaiah, chapter 55, just 3 verses. It's a very, very important text because this is the kingdom, the coming of the kingdom. In God's kingdom, when the reign of God happens, everyone will be filled, satisfied. There will not be anyone who will go hungry. Everyone will be treated equal. Justice, righteousness, everything is realized in this text. And there is a beautiful connection between chapter 55 of Isaiah in the first reading and the gospel reading of today. The gospel reading of today has got lots of theological significance. Dear friends, if you see, this is an episode which is something similar to the Last Supper. You see how Jesus makes the people to recline. They all recline. Of course, they are not sitting on in a dining table or the way people were seated for their dinner. But of course, the people, the way sat down, they reclined. And yet again, we need to understand, they are all in a deserted place like the people of Israel. During the time of Exodus, they were all deserted, and still God fed them with manna, fed them with good food, fed them with meat. So we see here Jesus Christ making the people to recline, and they have their food. And before they could have their food, Jesus takes the food and gives thanks to God and blesses the food. Something similar happens also during the Last Supper. He takes the bread, he blesses it, he prays, he thanks God, only then he distributes to the disciples. So also we see he does something similar and gives to the disciples so that they would go and distribute to the people. Dear friends, this is a very important passage because this is here and now. At the time of Jesus, the kingdom got established. This is the reign of God that is beautifully signified in this whole feeding of 5,000. Here is a Messiah. Of course, people, those who could not see the real meaning in this whole event, they were trying to make a Messiah or a king in terms of human terms. But here we see God's reign happening. This is what exactly the whole text of the first reading is what is prefiguring what is happening in the gospel passage today. We see Son of God, God himself is establishing his kingdom, and we see who are the first participants, who are the beneficiaries. Poor people, simple, common people. It is only later, even for the disciples, when he institutes the whole Eucharist, he has his whole special group, and that is where he institutes Eucharist. But we already see the prefiguring of the Eucharist here, with the feeding of the people. So for us Christians, feeding people, fellowship meal is very important. Of course, not only for Christians, for everyone, a sign of sharing affection, love, a sign of sharing our friendship, our relationship, is by offering food, having food together. But here, this sharing of food is highly theological. It is a sign that the kingdom of heaven, kingdom of God is getting established, and here we see God himself in the person of Jesus Christ is blessing the food and he is distributing it. Now again you see, people ate, they were filled, and the remains were gathered, 12 baskets. Again it goes back to the time of Exodus, where they were given lots of food, but they were instructed not to waste food. And here also we see how they were given more. In the kingdom of heaven, no one will go starving if we get more than what is sufficient. It's overflowing. That's what you all come. I'm going to fill you with honey, milk. It will be overflowing, and this is what is happening. The whole kingdom is getting established, and we see how the beneficiaries, the poor people, are fed. And Jesus' person moves with compassion, and he starts establishing his kingdom. Dear friends, you know what? The beautiful message, the lesson from the text of today is this. The VVIP in the kingdom of heaven, in God's kingdom, you know, they're not celebrities, they're not people with fame, power, money, influence. No, the VVIPs are the poor, simple and ordinary folks who just follow Christ, may not be so sound in their theological understanding, but they have simple faith. They are the VVIPs of the society, of God's kingdom. This is the order of priority for God, like it or not. The fact that we are given lots of wealth, we are given lots of comfort, we are given lots of influence, we are given lots of power, we are given lots of money, we are not VVIPs at all in the kingdom of heaven. That's why the final judgment is going to judge us based on how we treated the poor people, because they are the VVIPs. And you see, even before the institution of the Holy Eucharist, here we see the prefiguring of the Eucharist happening. The Last Supper is prefigured here already. With whom? Simple people. This is the most important lesson all of us should understand. Like it or not, this is a reward for the people who are living in poverty. Of course, we always say, okay, it's a kind of giving you empty promises to somehow justify your poverty. No. They are going to be treated royally. Number two, second lesson. As people who are given lots of privileges, to have riches, to have money, to have power, to have decent place to live, to have decent resources for our lives, the important challenge is we need to behave like Jesus. We are the ones should go searching for the poor people and feed them. It's not just feeding with food, but try to empower them. They are our target. Invite them for dinner. Give them, especially during this time when people are going to struggle to get admission in the institutions, the schools, whatever. They'll be struggling to pay their fees. You know, my dear friends, being in an institution, in the college already, you know what I see? People, really poor people are the ones who go to the pawn shop and keep their jewels, leave their jewels there and come and pay the fees. It is actually those who have money are the ones who are come and ask for concession, the ones who try to evade with some reasons. Literally poor ones, they somehow sell off some property or whatever and they come and pay the fees. And if you and I have sufficient, we need to look for people and feed them. Share our resources because they are the VVIPs. Their contacts are very important. Today we are living in a culture where we need to develop contacts. We want more contacts. Contacts of whom? Rich, influential, those who can recommend your case. These are the most important contacts. How many contacts of poor people I have? And of course, the most important lesson number 3 is this. Dear friends, poor people in themselves cannot come up without the help of people who are established in the society. And we are living in a society when someone gives their voice for the poor, the marginalized, they're immediately labeled, they're thrown away, they're criticized. Somehow we see this reality. People are, no one is allowed to even voice out their opinion for the poor people, for the ones who are suffering. But the most important thing is we have to voice out. We need to really come out and have the guts and talk about this problem in the society, because my dear friends, these poor people do not have voice. They cannot speak by themselves. They need someone to talk for them on their behalf, who can talk to them, who can talk about them, who can fight for their rights. Jesus did. Of course, he was punished, he was killed. He was killed. This is a challenge for all of us. Will we stand for the rights of the poor people? That's a challenge Jesus leaves to you and me.